Good morning. This is James McQuivey. Merry Christmas. You'll be watching this probably around Christmas. It's Thursday before Christmas. Temperature's finally getting up over 30 degrees. I don't have as much of my breath that's turning out into steam as an hour ago when I first came out here and started making some cartridges. So I've run out of cartridges that came with the kit that I started with. So the Jefferson Arsenal kit that I mentioned originally, I've used all those papers, used most of the thread and all the ball. So now it's time for me I've gone out and acquired more ball. Oh, I owe you a couple of things. I said in the last video I was gonna try to show you this. I didn't show you this. This is the new ball that I've acquired. And you can see that flat spot on the top. Actually, you can see it pretty well. That is the sprue. That's the piece of irregular space. This one's not as high. The ball that I got from Jefferson Arsenal, the sprue is a little bit higher off the ball than this. So that's what I was curious, whether it was affecting my aim. Most people say that as long as I'm consistent in how I place it, it probably isn't going to make a big difference, and that's probably good tips. I'm getting incredible tips from you. Thank you for being so generous with your suggestions and your thoughts. A couple of things that you said I want to acknowledge. I need to learn how to sharpen flint. Yes, thank you for the link to the video on that, one of you, because I had a couple of misfires now with my flint, and I've got extra flint, but I want to do it right. So next week I'm probably going to work on flint. What else am I doing? Oh, someone suggested that if I'm going to fire at 75 yards, I should up the powder. Also a good recommendation. Duh, seems kind of obvious. Didn't think about that. So the charge could go up to 110, 120 perhaps. I might test that out today. So I'm going to go out to the range today because tomorrow it's supposed to be an incredible storm, windy, rainy. I don't want to be out there. I can't keep your powder dry when you're out there. So I'll be out there today, and I'm going to definitely do some 50s with my new cartridges that I'm just finishing up here before I head out. I'm going to probably try some 75s. I will say, I went back and I looked at the last video where my 75s didn't even hit the target. I had 3 of those shots. Well, I actually was able to see from before and after photos of where I hit, and I did hit on the cardboard. Some of those balls where I said, I think that might be it, I think those were actually from, one of those is from the 50, a couple of them were from the 75s. So I think I'm not as far off as I was worried that I was. So maybe with some more powder and just some more focused aim, but I'll stay at 50. I want to get good at 50. I think that's where I want to get good. That's, as I understand it, about the distance that a firing line might have stood across from each other in a lineup of British and militia if they were going to fire like that. What else am I learning? So learning about the paper that I need for cartridges was provided for me before. The Jefferson Arsenal paper it's thinner than normal paper, so I was trying to figure out how to reproduce that. So I bought newsprint for 12 bucks at Staples. It's a little bit thinner, but I think it's about right. We'll see how that performs today. I'll be stopping at Joann Fabrics on the way to the range to buy pillow wicking. I'm not 100% sure I know what that term is. I've never heard it before in my life, but evidently it's what the cool kids do to make patch balls for shooting. So don't know that I'll be shooting those today, but I'll be shooting them over the next week as I get the hang of that. Finally got like 50% of you have recommended Ballistol, the non-petroleum oil, which is great. And I'm excited to start using that now for cleaning and conditioning the Musket. Yeah, I think I'm really ready to go. I mentioned last time that I'm doing some thinking about this whole process. What I'm learning about gun ownership, gun responsibility. I wrote an essay called The Responsibility to Bear Arms, which I'll put in the link below if you haven't seen it yet. It's really just some thoughts for me about understanding the difference in approach between what it meant to own a weapon in 1775. And we're coming up on the 250th anniversary of that event. And I've done videos about it earlier this year from the perspective of specific men who lost their lives or risked their lives in order to make the Revolutionary War happen. And this is a weird thing to say, but I'm grateful for the Revolutionary War. I think the world should be grateful for it because coming out of there, it led to the Constitution, which has dramatically changed the way governments around the world try to do what they're charged with. Now, they don't always do it well. We don't always do it well, but we do it better than was done before. And the Revolutionary War really made that happen. That's why people like to sometimes call it the War of American Independence. Also fine to call it that. I still call it the Revolutionary War because it did create a revolution in governance modes. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the political philosophy of it, but I will just say that it couldn't have happened if there weren't these people. 2/3 of households in Massachusetts in 1775 owned weapons. If they didn't own them and didn't believe they had a responsibility to own them, that could never have happened. In fact, I've been reading a whole bunch of really amazing books about the Indian Wars of the 1850s to the 1890s. Oh, that's painful stuff to read. Super painful stuff to read. People were awful on all sides. I grew up in the 70s when we were like, oh, the poor Indians suffered at the hands of these awful whites, and that did happen. But the Indians were not Boy Scouts. They were not saints. Awful, awful stuff, right? But one of the very, very obvious things to me is that one of the keys to whites forcing the indigenous Americans, the native people here, onto reservations was they had to take their weapons away from them. They had to. There was no way you were going to put these natives on a reservation without first taking away their weapons. And boy, that's exactly what the British were trying to do here in Boston. When they would march out to all these towns and try to seize the powder, the cannon, and whatever muskets they could. And that's what precipitated the Revolutionary War. You take people's weapons away in order to dominate them. And boy, I'm not going to say it's never wrong to do, but to me, the thing I'm learning is I have to put so much care and attention into my musket, the maintenance of the musket, the cleaning of the musket, the preparation of the cartridges, the care that I've had to go to be a licensed gun owner in Massachusetts, even though I don't need a gun to own the musket. A license to own the musket. All of that responsibility, that to me used to be part of citizenship. And it's not anymore, and I don't think it needs to be. Only 10% of people in Massachusetts today own weapons. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be a large number. But for those of us that choose to, it needs to be handled with this incredible responsibility and obligation to our community. So learning quite a lot. And all of you are helping me tremendously with that. I will try to get some couple of other thoughts about this in. I have this thought that's nagging at me. I'll probably save it for next week. It's going to be potentially inflammatory, and I'm hoping to do it in a way that people will get where I'm coming from and give me the benefit of the doubt. I know this community will. You've been very generous to point out things that I need to learn, places where I'm making mistakes and all that, but you've done it generously, and it's the world of social media. Generosity is not necessarily something you see a lot of. So thank you for that. But anyway, stay tuned for that next week. But enjoy the couple of shots I'll show you now, and we'll see if the tricky camera work that I'm hoping to do will make a difference in how I can share this with you and what I learn from it. Because I want to see where my balls are landing with more precision than I am at 50 yards and 75 yards. So stay tuned. Okay, out here at the range, ready to go almost. Let's shoot from 50. Got a couple of cameras set up, hoping to capture this from a variety of angles. Wish me luck. All right, I'm gonna walk down and see what's going on. I think I've only hit one. All right, started with 5 shots at 50, and there's a pattern here. Not an awful, well, it's a bad one, but not awful. Let's look. I've got 3 out of 5 right here. I am promoting the all-new season of Sons of Guns, evidently. Although I'm sure this is years old, it's all weathered. And then this one, I'm pretty sure that one is also new. I've got close-up cameras. I've got this GoPro over here that's capturing the whole thing close up at 60 frames per second. So I'm going to go back and watch exactly which shots were which. But I obviously got to literally raise my game. So I'll figure out how to do that. It's not terrible. From way back there, I could only see one shot on the white part, and I was a little discouraged. But if I've got 3, maybe 4 that are all just a foot too low, I can compensate for that, right? And I'm kind of in the zone. I mean, I'm not trying to think of this as a British regular if I were facing them off at 50 yards. But, you know, they would still do some damage if I'm shooting a foot lower than I'm aiming. 2 feet lower, if I'm being honest. But, hey, let's try a couple more, see what happens. Ah, the old flash in the pan. The 3 times that I flashed in the pan so far, of the sort of 50, 60 shots I've taken, I'm trying to save face by saying it's only happened 3 times. Each time, it's because I'm being stingy. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to use so much of it in the pan that I don't have enough for a good shot. You know, I don't know why I'm being so stingy about it. It must be a personality thing. But anyway, so fill the pan back up. Let's see how it goes. All right, let's go check these out. I don't think I'm getting any better here. We'll see. This is my best shot so far. Problem is, I don't know which of my last shots did that, of the last 4 I just did, and I didn't get any others on target. So on the one hand, I feel great about that one, but if I'm only 25% at that range, I don't know what I'm doing for sure. I'll go try a few more, see what happens. this one off. All right, I'm gonna spare you the walk back up to the target because nothing. There was nothing. Of those last shots I tried at 50, I got nothing on target. And to be fair, it might be because I was having so much fun with my little drone that was circling around me and getting those really cool shots that I've already hopefully included in here for you to see. I'm excited about those, but that may have distracted me a wee bit. But I thought I was getting the hang of it there. Didn't get another shot on target. And then while I was trying to clean the barrel and planning to do a couple more shots, someone else showed up on the range. You know what? My hour was up. It was someone else's turn. They wanted to shoot a pistol from 25. So had a nice conversation with the guy. He's got a black powder rifle. We exchanged stats, what do you call them in English? We exchanged info, and I am going to meet up with him later to shoot powder. He's got a black powder rifle, and he's interested in the smoothbore musket. So it's a very welcoming community. I'm just gonna say, very welcoming and generous community. And anyway, so I decided to call it wraps. I'm headed home now. And I'll just say Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful Merry Christmas. I did get the material I need to do ball and patch next week, so stay tuned for that video next week, at which point I'll probably share with you some of those thoughts that I mentioned I've been having, and just be interested to see what your reaction is. But Merry Christmas, and have a wonderful time with family and friends. I hope all of you do. Take care.